Hello everyone, sorry for not being there today. This is a flip book, and if you don't know how to kind of set it up, if you look up to the Promethean board on the left, there will be an example of how to order it. From that point on, just kind of fold it over and you should have a little flip book. So I do want you guys to go ahead and pause this video, copy these parts down, and then we'll look at them a little bit later. So now that you have kind of copied these down, I'm going to go over them just very, very quickly. Parallelograms, as we have learned, they are kind of the bases for all the ones that we have learned afterwards. So the properties are still opposite sides are parallel. Remember, this is the result of this is that alternate interior angles are congruent. Then we have also learned that opposite sides are congruent. So this side and this side are congruent, as well as top and bottom. Opposite angles are still congruent, so they're across from each other. They are the exact same measure. So if we look here, these four are opposite angles and congruent. Consecutive angles are still supplementary, so if they're next to each other, they do equal 180. These also equal 180, these equal 180, and these equal 180 as well. And then diagonals bisect each other, so that means these and these are congruent, as well as this bit and this bit are also congruent. Okay, let's put some of these into practice. So this should be the bottom part of your flip book. If you didn't do it like this, you probably messed up somewhere along the line, so go ahead and check that you have done it right. So number one does say if ABCD is a parallelogram. So you should make sure that your flips does say parallelogram, and this will work like this on your test as well. It will tell you this shape is a blank. Make sure you are doing the correct properties with the correct shape. Don't let that distract you, or don't let that kind of mess you up. So we have parts already labeled here, and so we are looking for sides and we are looking for angles. So I'm going to do my sides first. The first side that I'm looking for is AB, so that's this side over here. If they're always asking me a outside side, I'm always going to look for its opposite. Just because there I don't have to do much, I know that is going to be 9 because they are opposite and congruent. And then we are looking for AC. AC is this entire diagonal right here. And I don't have the entire length, but I do know that they bisect each other. So if this is 11, this is also 11. And let's multiply that by 2 or add them up. And we do get 22 for the length of AC. Then we have BE. BE is only half of this diagonal right here. And again, I don't have the entire thing, but I do know that these are congruent. So if this is 7, this is also 7 right here. Once we do that, I am going to go ahead and erase everything. That way I can have a clean slate for my angles and I won't get confused. The first angle that they ask us about is actually BAD. So we are looking for this entire angle right here. So usually when I'm only given half of it or one piece of our angle, I always look to see if I have its alternate interior. In this case, that is what happens. So here we have its opposite angle. This is its alternate interior, so I know these two are congruent. So if this is 49, this is also going to be 49 degrees. Just kidding. So do not do what I just did. Let's not do that. We are looking for the entire angle, so it's BAD. So it's actually going to be the result of adding 49 plus 27, and that ends up being 76. Even though that is 49 degrees, we are looking for the entire angle. So I had to add these two up, and I get BAD. Our next angle is ADC, so we are looking for this entire angle. And so there's quite a few ways we could have done this one. However, I'm going to do the easiest way for me, which is knowing that these are supplementary. So what I'm going to do there is say they're supposed to equal 180, and we already found out that this is 76 degrees. So I'm going to subtract those 76 degrees. What is left over, which is 104, is what this angle measures. And then last we have ABD. That is only half of that angle. So I do have one chunk of it. And again, there's a couple of ways you could do that. However, I have just recently found that this does equal 104 degrees. And I know these two are going to be congruent. So if they're going to be congruent, I know they both have to equal 104. But I already have 43 of those degrees taken up. So what is left over ends up being 61. And so that is the degrees that we have left over. Okay. So I do want you guys to go ahead and do number 2 on your own. Make sure either Mr. Hano, Ms. Battle, or your sub does tally your name next to number 2. Quick hint about that one, those two angles are supplementary. Okay, so go ahead, pause this video and solve it. So hopefully you did not have any trouble with your parallelogram questions. So let's move on to rectangles. Rectangles, oops, that's not what we want. Rectangles have the same properties that parallelograms do. So those are the same properties. However, we have two new properties, and that is that all of the corner angles are right angles, aka they're all going to be 90 degrees. So these in the corner will all equal 90 degrees. And then the diagonals, they're congruent. So whatever this measures, the other diagonal is going to measure the exact same thing. So you guys, these two properties are specific to rectangles. So you cannot apply these to any other, for example, like a rhombi. You can't apply these rules, these two rules right here, to other shapes. So go ahead and make sure that you are applying it to rectangles only. So let's put these into practice. So let's look at number 2. Number 2 does say JKLM is a rectangle. So we know to use those rectangle properties. We do have to find each missing measure. So we do have sides, we do have angles. I'm going to go ahead and start with my sides. They do ask me for KL. And anytime I'm looking for these outside ones, I am always going to look for its opposite side. Luckily for us, we do have one here, and that is 25. Then we are asked about an L. An L is only half of this diagonal. However, we still do know that they bisect each other, and therefore these two are congruent. So this is 13, and L will also be 13. And then last we have KM. So KM is this entire diagonal. So usually we would see that we do not have any numbers on the diagonal, but it's fine because we do know that for rectangles these two are congruent. So whatever this measures, this is going to measure the exact same thing. So I do know this is 13. I know this is also 13. So altogether that should give me 26. Remember, this is for rectangles, so don't try this with, for example, a rhombi. I'm going to erase all the mess that I made just so I can start clean with my angles, and then I'm going to look at KLM. My first one is KLM. We are talking that entire angle. So if I were you, before I started with my angles, I would go ahead and draw my angles in. Which I do know all these are 90 degrees. So if they ask me for that entire corner angle, then I know that that will be 90 degrees. Then we are looking at LMK. LMK is just this part of the angle. Again, if I'm looking for only half of that or only one piece of that angle, I'm always going to look for its alternate interior and see if we have one. So I'm going to go through the diagonal, jump to the other side. We do have it, and that is 68 degrees. So I know LMK is 68 degrees due to them being alternate interiors. And then last we have LJM. That's only this chunk right here. And we don't have any angles here. We don't have any opposite angles to compare it to. So if I don't have anything here and I don't have anything in its opposite, I'm going to go ahead and look for its consecutive angle. So I'm going to say that is 90 and 68. That's going to end up giving us 22. So LJM will be 22. Okay. And so I want you guys to do number 4. In number 4, we do have to remember that alternate interiors are congruent, and that should be a really good help for number 4. So once you've done that, go ahead, pause the video, and show it to Ms. Rojano, Ms. Battle, or your sub. In the next video, we will be looking at rhombi, and we will be looking at squares. So that will be part 2 to our video.